No GPS, no rules, no shame. Just a funky little quad in a soul train frame. We fly that flow. Grab that gap. No time to nap. No time to nap. Hit that roll. Funk and control. Bounce that wall. We fly it all. We fly it all. Funky and free, we fly indoors, we fly with glee. Whoop it, loop it, groove it, move it, bounce it, flip it, funk it, rip it, fly that soul, don't lose control. Tiny whoop love gonna make you whole. I thread the needle through the vinyl stacks, bounce off the mirror ball, never looking back. My quad's got soul, it's got style, it's got sass. It dips through the incense like a blast from the past. I'm flying figure eights through the lava lamp glow, dodging house plants like a funky pro. My whoops got rhythm, my sticks got heat. I'm the pilot of the party with the grooviest beat. I loop through the hallway, I dive by the broom. I'm the disco ghost in your living room. I hit that split that's over grandma's chair. She just claps and says, boy, you got flair. I'm flying freestyle with a velvet touch. My quad so smooth it don't need a clutch. From the shag rug to the ceiling fan, I'm the funky little fly with a master plan. The curtains dancing on the breeze, freestyle funk in my living room with ease. Tiny whoop magic bumping every wall. I'm the James Brown of flight, can't stop at all.
Hey friends, my name is Aaron Ciotti. Everybody calls me Ciotti. Welcome to Friday farting around and farting with some farts. Oh look, this computer's been a pain in my ass lately. I was about to get frustrated, but it's all good. In the chat, Ryan said that you can FPV Smirk Station, Rod FPV, El Chingon, Unanticipated Bill. RSO Rick, what's up, friends? Got this stream scheduled awful late, so we'll start slow to let more folks filter in. I went and had my eyes checked today for the first time in probably 25 years. I literally, I don't think I've had my eyes checked since I was in school, and they did it like in school, with like paper. Now they use all fancy electronic shit. They had me on like 5 different machines. One of them's blowing air in my eyes. The other one's flashing big concentric blue circles all over the place. Crazy, man. I'm not super comfortable reading this. I don't know what the fuck any of this means. But I think what they said is that I'm farsighted in my right eye, nearsighted in my left eye. It says, what's OD and OS? OD for reading glasses. So they circled reading glasses, near distance tasks or hobbies. OD, sphere, is +2. Cylinder is -0.75. And then OS. What OD means either right or left. OS means the opposite. OS sphere is +1.25. Cylinder is -0.25. I think that's the actual prescription. And then for like general use, which I don't really need, OD sphere is +0.25. OS sphere is -0.5. Those are smaller numbers. See, they said that my far away vision is way better than my up close vision, but they they still showed me what my far away vision could be with glasses, and it was definitely a little bit better. But they were like, yeah, up close is where you're having the most problems, which I kind of knew. But yeah, the cylinder is negative 0.75, negative 0.25 OD/OS for general use. I guess that's far away stuff, right? But yeah, it's I don't know. Maggie scheduled this for me. I wouldn't have really scheduled it because I don't know. Like, there's a website, Zenni, where you can get prescription glasses for like $75, which is not bad. But like, when I'm doing stuff that require, like, I would really only use it when I'm on my phone. Like, it wouldn't. I asked her, I was like, is this going to help me, like, at my monitor? She's like, nah, your monitor's going to be too far away. This is, like, up close. Like, this isn't your phone stuff. And so I'm like, I don't even know if I'm going to get glasses, because when am I going to use them? Like, I'm not going to go digging around for my glasses every single time that I'm going to use my phone. I'm just going to use my fucking phone. I can still read it. It's fine. I just hold it a little bit farther away. And then when I'm doing stuff here, I'm usually wearing the head-mounted magnifier, or I have these readers that are like 2.5x magnification, which have these little LEDs on the corner, which are unbelievably useful. And so I don't know. I don't know if I'm actually going to get glasses. I think I just paid $125 for nothing. I mean, I guess it's good to know that, like, my eyes aren't falling out or anything like that, but, like, I had a feeling that they weren't falling out. They didn't feel like they were falling out. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like I might have just wasted $125, but you know, that's our healthcare system in a nutshell. Waste a bunch of money. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know what to do about this. In the chat, type at CiottiFPV if you want to talk directly to me. Head on over to CiottiFPV.com if you'd like to support me. This is a totally crowdfunded thing. When I review something, I am not being nice about any product ever. Any manufacturer that wants to send me something, I let them know it's going to get reviewed harsh. And if it's a great product, I'm going to tell everybody it's a great product. If it's not, I'm going to hammer on it. And if that's not cool, don't send it. And sometimes they don't send stuff. Some companies do, and that's pretty cool. That means a lot. And so, yeah, the more we build this up, the more stuff I'll test, the more money I can hopefully save you. So kick a couple of those bucks back my way, join my Patreon, click my affiliate links, do things, and we'll keep hanging out together. FPV says, Happy Pizza Friday, CiottiFPV and gang. I think I'm doing pizza for Father's Day. Maggie asked me a couple days ago, like, where do you want to go out to eat on Father's Day? You know, you can go anywhere you want. And I was like, and I can't think of anything. I don't know. Like, I always ask everybody else where they want to go to eat, and then, like, whichever of their suggestions sounds the best, I'm like, ooh, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Or, like, you know, I'll just say I don't care. I've no idea. I like, when given the opportunity to go anywhere, I have no clue. There's a whole bunch of places that I like, but, like, I don't know. There's not one place that I can be like, yes, I want to go there. And so the best I can come up with is one of our local pizza shops that makes a half-decent Sicilian pizza, which is very rare in the South. Pizza is horrendously bad down here. Yeah, this local place that makes cheap Sicilians that are passable. That's all I can come up with. I'm like, you know, couple Sicilians, and then let's all watch a movie together. That's all I can really think of to do on Sunday after the live stream. Which, I don't know, is that sad, or is that a good thing? Does that mean I'm a good stepdad, or does that mean that I'm a boring ass motherfucker? Probably a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. But yeah, I'm thinking I'm gonna have some pizza on Sunday, since I can't think of a fucking place. RSO Rick says, hey all. He also says, why is bot streaming over CiottiFPV time slot? Is he really? It's okay. He used to stream Fridays at 9. I actually picked this 7 o'clock slot because he was streaming Fridays at 9. And so I thought, let me not be streaming at the same time as him. And so that's why the Friday streams have always been 7 to 9. I would rather do them 8 to 11, 8 to 10, or 9 to 11. But Bot used to stream every Friday, and so I've been doing 7 to 9. So if he's going to start doing 7 to 9, I'm probably going to start doing 9 to 11, or something like that. But we'll see. Uriel says, at the end of the stream, I often see double. Matthew Egner says, I've noticed similar have to hold things away from my face. I don't wear glasses at 45 years old. Coincidence, age, or my last year of daily Whoop bench repairs? Yeah, it feels like my arms are getting shorter as I age. Like my arms are just, they're not, it's weird. My arms are pretty long. I'm a pretty gangly motherfucker. I don't know, like, is this joint getting shorter? What's happening? Is it up here that's getting shorter? Is it here that's getting, what's... The older I get, the faster I was. Shelby Voles in the house. What's up, brother? He says, you done with dance classes on Sunday nights yet? I am not. That is my volunteering. I always try to have something in my life volunteer-based. And at the moment, it is teaching modern swing dance, basically, also referred to as West Coast swing pretty constantly. And after my live streams on Sunday, I go and, it's like part community building, part moving around a little bit, because I don't move around much, if at all. Part keeping the legacy alive of a close friend of mine who lost a battle with depression a year and a half ago. A couple of weeks after the election, it was just all too much for him. And we lost Wilder. And he'd spent 2 or so years building a company called Reframed Dance. And I took a lot of lessons with him, with Maggie, as like a really cool little thing for us to do in our relationship. And when we lost Wilder, I did not want to let his class up here in North Georgia disappear. And so I did something very uncomfortable and said, you know what, I'll try to teach the class. I had not danced a day in my life until I started taking his classes. And so, like, I was only about 1 year into taking couples dance classes. But it was just so fun, and I learned a lot from him that I've managed to do a pretty good job with it. And everybody has a blast, and there's new people every week, and it's cool. It's cool seeing a bunch of people push themselves out of their comfort zone and go out to a dance class, often for the first time ever. It's pretty cool. It's a pretty neat thing. So yeah, my Sunday nights are unfortunately very booked after my 3 to 5 stream. But we are there are going to be some Sundays that get skipped, and so if you want to have me back on, Shelby, we can certainly work it out. How much advance notice can you give me, though? Just shoot me a message, hit me with a couple of dates, and I'll basically cancel a class for it, because drone hanger is one of the most unique things in FPV. It is just like this incredible intersection of like party and FPV and just raucous and crazy live stream effects. Like the production value of the live stream is absurd. It's so cool. And so yeah, if you guys are willing to have my boring ass back on there, I'm totally down. I'm unquestionably the most boring guest that they've ever had. They usually have people on that like have actual personalities. And then there's me, you know, with just testing results and serious FPV business. But like, you know, this is my job. This is FPV has been my job for the past like 5 years. And my value in the FPV world, I think, is in the knowledge that I've gained. And so I'm happy to be a boring old 45-year-old not drunk or high on the internet. Matthew Wagner says, I genuinely think the cheap-ass optics we wear for an hour at a time is bad. I use Amazon readers, gave up on the jewelry. I might add a break timer for my bench. So, you know, I actually talked to the optometrist about that, and I recently looked it up. It is a myth that not wearing glasses hurts your eyes. And so I have a feeling that wearing not great optics also does not hurt your eyes. In most cases, she rightfully corrected it. There are some eye issues that are made worse by not wearing glasses, or I guess alternatively by wearing shitty. It's she basically said like it's about eye strain, right? Like if your eyes are having to work harder to focus, like when your eyes lock focus, they can then like relax a little bit. If your eyes can't lock focus, they're gonna keep trying to focus. They're gonna keep trying to adjust. But that doesn't hurt them. That's just what they do. And so she said, yeah, like if you just take this eye exam and don't do anything with it, like your eyes aren't going to get any worse for your conditions. Like I don't have astigmatism, I don't have like whatever other things. And so like if you have otherwise healthy eyes, it feels to me, I didn't specifically ask her about like although I did mention that I have these 2.5x readers and a 3.5x headset, and she was like, yeah, that's fine. You're totally fine with that. So I'm assuming that wearing shitty optics doesn't necessarily hurt things. But what she did say is that like with eye strain, your eyes are going to feel like tired, and you're going to, you know, it tends to make you feel tired. And so, yeah, shitty optics, I'm sure, might produce a little bit more eye strain, but yeah, it's not messing up our eyes, which is good. Chef Bruno says, I'm about to try and orbit a water fountain for eye gow. Wish me luck. Nice. Uriel says, oh boy. Matthew Wagner says, I think it's a question of the crappy optics themselves, plastic lenses. Maybe answer is prescription readers. I mean, I'm sure if the optics were better, we'd be able to see better, but it doesn't feel like it hurts our eyes, which is, you know, hopefully true. Matthew also says, I may be desperately seeking answers to aging issues. I'm pretty sure we're both now the target of like 50% of advertising. You're an old by this pill. Yeah, Jesus Christ. I'm 45 as well, and it's the advertisements have changed over the last few years. I don't know how many fucking Blue Chew I'm so sick of hearing Sildenafil and Flavopil and Plavopil, and if our pill has shut the fuck up! Oh my god. Jesus. It should be illegal to cram narcotics and medications down people's throats. Like, it literally is. It's literally illegal to run medical ads in like the majority, I think, of the free world. Jesus, my dick's a floppin'. That's it. Sildenafil and my dick's a floppin'. Oh god. Hey, tonight we're gonna fix some shit. I got to one of the motor wires popped off here. I'm gonna show you how to reattach it and prevent that from happening in the future. So some soldering tips and some general Tiny Whoop motor durability tips. And then these two builds are actually done, but I haven't had a chance to do the Betaflight setup, so I figure let's jump into Betaflight and I'll show you some of the tips and tricks in there. And then I don't know if I'll have time. I gotta go to Bed Bath & Beyond, but if we have time, I'm gonna swap the motors on this little analog Baby Turtle Pro. This is the Pro. I just got done flying this thing around. That's not what you were watching on the beginning of the live stream. The beginning of the live stream, you were watching the Caillou Mini. railing around Maggie and I's friends, Heather and Jess's house, little farmette, and yeah, what a blast! But boy, these 1204s are an awful lot of motors. So I forgot to do that. Was supposed to be the last battery that I flew on this before changing the motors out, but I forgot to do a black box log, and so I got to put one more battery through this tomorrow because it'll be dark by the end of the stream. So I'll do a battery on this tomorrow with fresh props. These motors have not been crashed hard, and I've got my baseline. The battery that I flew today is a good battery for like looking at flight performance, and I did like a full throttle hit to see how hard the battery sags and all that shit, and max RPM, all that jazz. I just need to get a black box log so that I have a representative baseline for this build on RC and Power 1204 8000s, and then I can switch it over to one of the 1203s. We'll see how they are. And then we'll move it, do the same kind of thing, move it over to another set of 1203s, and we'll get a bunch of data, a bunch of black box logs, bunch of flight characteristics, bunch of DVR, comparing 1204s, which I think are legitimately a little bit too big for this, especially with the smaller battery deck. On a 2S 450 mAh battery, these motors are too much. Even like when that battery is freshly charged, if I go full throttle for more than like a quarter of a second, it sags the battery down to Chinatown. So yeah, these 1204s are a little too big for 2S. They might be right on the money for 3S, and eventually that's where this thing is going, is 3S, because with these 2.5-inch props, we need bigger motors, and this battery tray here is just not quite big enough. I love this thing having... I love the setup here, except for the motors. And I think on 3S, these motors might totally work. And I have a feeling I'm going to come full circle with this build and have it back on these motors with a different AIO that'll take 3S and then some 3S 380 mAh or battery around there. But I want to see how far we can go with 2S on here. I'm doing it on this build because this is kind of like the heavier of the builds. I'm really tempted to go through that on this baby turtle here. I'm sorry, this is not the baby turtle. This is the Bando Turtle 2.5. But this thing is like, this has an AIO on it with motor plugs, and so testing motors on this is really easy. The motors that I'm going to be putting on this, none of them have motor plugs. They're all direct solder motors, and so that kind of makes sense. But I think this is pretty close to like sort of final form. So it's got the 04 light, which is significantly lighter than the Flywoo setup. This frame itself is lighter weight than the Caillou Mini frame. And yeah, this thing is just really, really good. So I think this thing is going to kind of hang. It's a lot lighter than this. The battery bay up here, the battery, the top plate for putting the battery on is a lot longer. If you compare like the Caillou Mini, well, I'll do it in like the length of my finger basically, right? And so like the Caillou Mini, realistically, I can only put a battery on there that's this long. Whereas the Bando Turtle has enough room where I could do a battery that's like all the way down to there. So like, I know it doesn't look like that much, it's like that much extra. That does make a big difference. That's the difference between like a 450 and a 650 mAh battery. And so like the Bando Turtle, I can put a higher mAh 2S battery on. And so if I want to make a bunch of power on this, I can fit like 650 mAh probably 2S battery on here. And that higher mAh 650 is going to help that 2S battery not sag as bad. On the Caillou Mini, the top plate is a lot shorter, and so the longest battery I can fit on here is a 450. And so a 2S 450 has been what I'm running, and it just sags it too hard. And so one option would be to go to a 650, but now that 650 battery is going to hang way off the back of this thing, which is not great. This actually threw a battery today, and it was only one of the 450s. versus taking this to 3S, the battery gets wider rather than longer. It still fits on the top plate. It should actually fit better on these TPU loops so that it doesn't get ejected, and higher voltage does better in terms of sag. And so I think the correct sort of plan for a Caillou Mini that's going to have this Flywoo wide-angle giant camera on it, which basically stops the battery here, right? You can't push the battery any farther forward. I think the right setup for this build is going to be 3S, unless I was looking for just like a cruisy chill rig, which I'm not. And so yeah, I'm really excited to get both. I mean, this is pretty close to being perfect. I'm really looking forward to getting both of these things as close to perfect as I can get them, and then comparing the two of them, because we've got like normal 04 light versus Flywoo wide angle. We've got we're gonna have a 2S optimized setup, 3S optimized setup. It should be really, really cool to kind of compare these things. We've got a little bit lighter, a little bit heavier. But at the moment, the comparison between these two is that this flies awesome and doesn't destroy my batteries. This flies pretty good and destroys the batteries. And so right now, it's like a no-brainer. This is the setup. But yeah, a little bit more dialing in needed. And that'll be fun. But yeah, that's what you're watching at the beginning of the live stream, is one of the last batteries that I fly on that setup there, before we go down the rabbit hole of different motors, different batteries. Same props. I've pretty much already done the 2.5-inch prop testing. We know where we're at there. It's just some of the other stuff. So yeah, there you go. Varden Archibald says, I dig the shirt. Thank you, dude. This is a, most of my clothes are, from consignment stores and yeah, usually consignment stores. This is a really good find in Long Beach. I found this in Long Beach. This is a Rip Curl shirt. Pretty much my whole wardrobe is surf clothes. At a very young, when I was super young, my parents had a Buick, and the Buick, the logo for Buick is red, white, and blue, like shields, like sword fighting shields. And so they're like flat on the top, and then they're like that. When I was super young, though, I thought they were surfboards. And so I remember sitting in the passenger seat looking straight forward at the dash, and the Buick logo was there. And I remember they're what I thought were surfboards, and that implanted in my head. And growing up, I always thought surfing was the coolest thing in the world, and that like became my style or whatever, and it's sort of always been. So yeah, this is one of my favorite surf shirts that I've ever found at consignment stores while on vacation. I've fallen in love with when I go to a new place trying to find a cool little consignment store, and just buying something, anything, and then like my clothes have a little bit of a story behind them, and they have some kind of memories tied up in them, and so every time I flip past this shirt in my closet or put it on, I think about that trip to Long Beach, which is cool. That was a really fun trip last year. Ryan Sadat's got a lot to say. He's here we go. We got a paragraph. Doing some tuning with Brandon on 1S7504, similar to your build, and seems like the Air V2 is just too noisy. Such a shame they don't make the V1 with the 6 motor post struts anymore. 6 motor post struts? 4 motor post struts. I've not had that experience with the Air V2. It has not been too noisy. It is a little bit more noisy, but I've had a pretty easy time getting that thing dialed in. If you're staring at black box logs, and like tuning from logs rather than tuning from like a realistic position of like just going out and flying it and being like, oh, I got a little bit of prop wash. That's okay. Nobody watches this flight footage anyway. Yeah, this is one of the reasons that I never learned black box, because a black box log can make any build look too noisy. And so it's a slippery slope of like just get out and fly it and have fun versus obsessing over the logs. Some people, the tuning part, the logging part is the fun, and that's totally fine. But yeah, like how noisy is too noisy becomes the question, right? And like for me, if it flies and if it's not like wobbling all over the place, unsafe, cool. Like I'm down. If it's something that I'm gonna fly for work, then it has to be locked down enough to where the stabilization software can flatten it out. All of these edits from Tulsa Tough, all of these cycling edits that I've put up this year. So there's about a dozen of them between Sunny King. Well, no, actually, the Sunny King ones don't have any gyro flow because I had the settings wrong. But all of these flight edits from Tulsa Tough, which are 95% glass smooth, those were all flown in 20 miles an hour of wind. And when you look at the raw footage, it's a mess. Like I'm getting my ass kicked. But put it through GyroFlow. It's the both of those builds are on the old 04s with the good gyro, and they stabilize just fine. There's a couple moments that for some reason GyroFlow kind of can't handle in them, but I just edit around that and it's fine. And so, even like working rigs, don't necessarily need to be tuned and like to the nth degree, and like so the quad goes off set point, right? So like your tune only really matters when, not totally, but for the most part, the tune only really matters when the quad goes off set point. It goes off set point when you move the sticks, so it obviously matters. But when it goes off set point, that's when the tune starts doing its thing. And basically, the more aggressive you make the PIDs, the earlier the quad is going to push against it coming off set point. This is a gross oversimplification, but just stay with me. And so flying the flying that I do at these live broadcast events, a lot of it is pretty much like trucking straight ahead. And then I've got crazy crosswind and swirling winds and all kinds of garbage. And so I've always been a little nervous to really, really, really crank the tune up, because what I'm afraid of is that it's going to, like, if I'm like, what's really important for me is just maintaining a very specific elevation. I want to be like 6 inches above the cyclists' helmets, not 7, because inevitably there's going to be power lines overhead and there's going to be a start-finish line steel girder thing that I need to fly perfectly under over and over and over again without any mistakes. And one of my worries about cranking the tune up too much is that I know I'm going to get hammered with wind. And the way that the PID loop works is that, like, so if you get pushed like this, it's going to try to break this front motor down and it's going to spin this rear motor up, right? That's just what it has to do. That's the authority that a quadcopter has in the air. The braking that we get is much less than the amount of thrust that can be made. And so the more aggressive you make the tune, the earlier it's going to push against it, potentially the harder it's going to push against it, although that starts to get into PID some. But what I've always been worried about is that if the tune is too aggressive, when I have tunes that are too aggressive, it always feels like they push more. And when they push more, because they're running out of braking, and so when they push more, that's going to change the elevation. And so my approach to tuning has always been like, push it too far until the motors get hot or it just tells you can hear it, and then move it back it off a good chunk. Not a ton, but like back it off a good chunk. that keeps it from being on the razor's edge. That keeps it from being like super fragile. Like I bent a prop and then the damn thing flew away, right? That potentially solves a lot of problems. But when it comes to like filter tuning and some of that stuff, there is no downside to that. That just reduces latency. But like I spend a little bit of time filter tuning it as well, and I take the biggest chunk of the latency out. And so yeah, I've had builds that have been absolutely tuned to the limit of what's possible. And like, yeah, it feels a little bit better, but like it feels nervous. Like it feels like it's on the edge. And I don't necessarily like that. That just doesn't feel comfortable with me. And again, I've always been worried about it being so, or like you're so close to the edge that it starts to have a little bit of an oscillation. And if it has an oscillation, you better believe it's going to raise in elevation. And so, yeah, even for professional work where we're being paid, it's never seemed like the best idea to have a tune that's like absolutely at the bleeding edge of what's possible, so long as the mechanical system is there for you, right? Like if the mechanical system has basically shitty response time, you have to push the tune really hard to make up for that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when the mechanical system is sound. Yeah, I've never seen or felt the value in having like a super, super, super cranked up tune. But that's just me. Everybody's different. If the tuning part is fun to any of you, obviously just do that. But yeah, my Matrix V2, I could definitely see more noise in there yeah, just a little bit extra noise in there, but it was never an issue. I was always able to get a tune that was 99% prop wash free, let's say. GepRC 1002 25,000. I think the heavier build doesn't work on the Air 75 V2 frame. I did a stream a while ago where I tested the new the Light AF 75, the Air 75 V2 frame, and the Mobula 7 V4 I think. And the Light AF 75 frame was definitely the worst. The Air 75 V2 frame was a significant improvement, and then a smaller improvement came when I went to the Mobula 7 V4 frame. But the Air 75 V2 frame was the best middle ground, and that's actually what my 1S 75mm build has on it. That's the frame that I settled on. Heavier weight shifts the resonance frequency real way too low. Interesting. Yeah, I mean that's my exact setup, and I'm super happy with it. I'm wondering if your gyro might have something going on, and then which requires a bunch of workarounds for filtering / tuning. Brains Beans is an amazing guy, though. He is indeed super smart and learning so much from him. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Joblick Mike says, what motors are you recommending for the Bando Turtle 2.5? I'm not there quite yet. That is what's coming with this Caillou Mini. It does kind of depend on the rest of the build. The Caillou Mini frame is heavier than the Bando Turtle 2.5 frame. And then the Flywoo wide angle 04 Lite is significantly heavier than the regular 04. So like, for example, my 2.5-inch Bando Turtle feels really good on 1202.5 10,000 kV motors on 2S. Maybe if I can find a 1203 motor with motor plugs, which I don't think I've ever seen before, maybe I would go one tiny little step up in motor size, but this feels damn good as it is on 1202.5 10,000s. This guy with the extra weight, I had this on 1202.5s, and they were not enough. This needs 1203, 1204, 1303, something like that for the extra weight of the Caillou frame. One of the reasons that the Caillou frame is heavier is that it doesn't have any cutouts, right? It's just like a solid brick of carbon here. But also the bigger camera, the bigger chunk of TPU on the front. And so, yeah, depending on how heavy your build is, that's going to kind of shift the motors around. But, like, what I'll say is anything between 1202.5 and 1204 is really going to be your best bet. 1303s are slightly smaller than 1204s in stator volume. And so, yes, it's somewhere in that range. And then as far as KV, if you're going to run 2S, you're going to want, like, anywhere from 9 to, I'll say 8. Anywhere from 8,000 KV to, like, 11,000 KV. If you're going to run 3S, you can probably be, like, 6 to 8,000 KV. So, yeah, there's some brackets for you. Ryan also says, woo! One justification for trying to have a really dialed in P to D ratio could be when flying in windier conditions. Brandon and I were talking about how tuning improves authority in the wind. Yeah, the farther the PIDs are pushed, the quicker it's going to attack. And so for the initial moment where the wind hits it and sends it off set point, a more aggressive PID tune is certainly going to help there. But what I've always questioned is, like, when it runs out of braking force on one side, there's no parameter to tell it, well, I guess you could do it. I guess it's PID sum. I guess you could, like, move the PID sum down. The PID sum is the adjustment in the CLI only that adjusts how much power the PID loop has access to. And so I guess if you were running into that problem, like if you wanted to spend a ton of time tuning, and you were somewhere that it was windy all the time, which is one of the problems that I have. It's not windy all the time here. So I can't reproduce the environment that is these live broadcast events. But I guess if you wanted to spend a lot of time tuning, you could push the PIDs. You could almost like artificially push the PIDs too high and then back the PID sum off so that it when it runs out of braking on one side and it spins the other side up, it never spins the other side up so hard that the elevation changes and that it bounces up basically. But yeah, I don't know if I have the patience for that level of tuning. And then, you know, I bang up a motor or can't find the propellers anymore and it all has to get done all over again. Not all of it, but yeah. It's an interesting it's weird. I wish that there was, I can probably find, I need to go out and find an area around here that has a consistent turbulent wind is the deal. And then I just need to put a shitload of time into driving back and forth and tuning and all that jazz. But yeah, it's tough with everything else that demands my time. Blueback says, I heard someone recently say that motor plugs can kill up to 20% of your power. Is this true? Nope. That is nonsense. And as the voltage goes up, the motor plugs become less of a problem. On 1S, arguably that's the worst case sort of scenario. But yeah, 20%, I highly doubt that. Cool. Let's get some work done. First thing we're going to do is fix this Hummingbird V2 because everybody always wants soldering tips, and I'm here for it. Soldering iron is being turned on. I set mine to 700 degrees Fahrenheit. That's a little hot, but I've gotten good at soldering over the last decade, and so I can pretty quickly get on and off the pad to not dump too much heat into the electronics. If your soldering iron if you're gonna run your soldering iron hot, you should know all of your basics with soldering, and you should follow all the soldering basics, because one way of killing perfectly good electronics is dumping too much heat into them. What stinks so bad? Why does this soldering iron smell so bad right now? What's up with you, friend? All right, so these are the Newbie Drone Hummingbird motors, and unfortunately, these are the 0702 30,000s. And one of the only things I don't like about these motors is, from the factory, they do not put that little bit of shrink wrap here. And so when you grab this, you have a terrible tendency to push on these wires, and eventually they break. A much better scenario, see, this is one with Newbie Drone motors, but I have added the shrink wrap. If you add a little bit of shrink wrap here, it makes that situation so much better, because that shrink wrap, if you get it positioned properly, it's going to wrap around the PCB here, and then the shrink wrap itself is like a little buffer, right? Instead of just having the wire and then you grab it and it bends the wire at that point, the shrink wrap comes out like this, and so when you grab it, the shrink wrap takes some of the force. It's probably going to push on the motor wire eventually, but still, it makes the situation a lot better. And so, yeah, that's what we're going to do here. We're going to desolder all three of these, and then we're going to put a little piece of shrink wrap on here. Sorry, shrimp wrap. I mispronounced it. And that will not happen again to this motor. It'll happen to the other motors, but, you know, not to this one. I could potentially believe that these JST 1.25 smaller motor plugs that Newbie Drone and Emax use, I could maybe believe that they kill 20%, but not the bigger ones. Especially not with Stabilant 22 or some other electrical contact, not cleaner. Good. Enhancer. I sell little vials of this on my Etsy store. We saw a 5-ish% improvement from putting that stuff onto the bigger motor plugs. And so I've got the motor off. These are so fiddly to work with that the Omni Fixo is really, really, really the way to go here. And so I'm going to grab... I'm not going to grab the propeller. I'm going to flip this around and see if I can grab the motor bell. Yeah, that'll work. Cool. So, motor bell, and let's get this out of the way. And so, first things first, you need to have a syringe of flux paste. This stuff is one of the biggest improvements to your soldering. And I immediately need to put on my nerd goggles. This is the other thing that's super, super, super helpful. This is like 15 or 20 bucks. Yaktosun is one of the companies that make these, but there's like 50 other companies that have this exact same thing. Just go into eBay and type in like head-mounted magnifier, and you'll find this. It is amazing. It comes with a bunch of different lenses. These lenses are the max magnification, which is 3.5x, which makes a massive difference in actually being able to see what the hell you're doing. And when you can see what you're doing, not only is it easier, but the work that you do is much better quality. Only on Tiny Whoop motors, there is a thing as too much flux, and I just put too much flux on there. So I'm going to grab something to wipe that off. If you have too much flux on a Tiny Whoop motor, when you hit it with the soldering iron, that flux gets really thin, and it moves around, and it can very easily move up to the bushing or bearing, and that is real bad. And you will hate your life and probably have to throw away that motor. because you're not going to be able to get in there to clean that. So I put a little too much. I just grabbed something out of the garbage, and I just want to remove a little bit of this extra flux. There we go. We're good. This is one of the only scenarios where too much flux is actually a bad thing. I usually say that there is no such thing as too much flux, but this is that one scenario where that's actually not true. And I just got a little bit of it on this wire, which is just annoying because it's sticky. Okay, now we're good. All right, so your weak hand is going to hold some sort of a tweezer. For doing itty-bitty work like this, I use these really sharp-tipped, fine-tipped tweezers. And so your first inclination is always to grab the soldering iron, and that is wrong. You want to grab the soldering iron last. The first thing you need to do is get the wires into perfect position, or get these wires out of the way. Soldering is all about prep. And so now I got the wires moved out of the way. I want to pull this wire off. Now I can grab the soldering iron, and you want to clean it when you take it out of the stand, not when you put it back into the stand. Put it back into the stand dirty to prevent the tip from oxidizing. And so when you take it out of the stand, you clean it, and you want it to look shiny on the tip here. And so now offhand holds the wire, strong hand brings in the heat. And that's what you're doing with the soldering iron, is you're bringing in heat. You are not moving wires around. If you're using the soldering iron to move wires around, what are you going to do when you have to remove the soldering iron? You're not going to have the thing that you were relying on to move or hold the wires. What I'm doing right here is pulling off the couple of individual strands of wire that are still stuck to this pad, because this wire broke right at the corner of the pad. And so I'm just using the fine-tipped tweezers to kind of grab each individual little strand of wire. These little 30-gauge wires only have like 7 or 8 strands internally, so there's not many to grab. And now, since I have magnification, I can see that we're good to go. That pad's fine. That pad's fine. That pad's fine. Now, the solder on all 3 of those pads is getting a little bit dull, and there's not quite enough of it. Fresh solder, fresh leaded solder, has flux at the core. And so what I'm going to do, and these pads don't have quite enough solder, I'm going to put the tip of the soldering iron on one side of the pad, and then I'm going to push just a little bit of fresh solder in. 1, 2, and 3. And now we're looking good again. And now I'm just going to put the tiniest little bit of extra flux on here. All right. Good deal. And I'm just going to heat these up one more time real quick. I just added the tiniest little bit of extra solder. And so cleaning the tip of the soldering iron and then just coming in real quick and heating the pad up will remove a tiny little bit of solder. And there we go. Now there's the perfect amount on there. All right. So now we deal with our wires. To do here is untwist them and just stretch the wires out very gently, of course, because these little 30-gauge wires are super fragile. But yeah, just stretch these out. I want to try to get all 3. Since the one wire broke, it's going to be shorter, but sometimes it's not that bad. And so, like, if I don't have to cut the extra ones, I won't. Yeah, it's a little too short. I'm going to cut all 3 of them, re-strip them, and re-tin them. Which is not a terrible idea anyway, because, like, if one wire broke, the other 2 were about to break. And so by cutting them down a little tiny bit. The wires get weak right between the silicone and the bare wires. And so by cutting these down a little bit, I've cut the weak point off, so now we just have nice strong wire here again. And so this will last for a long time. If I were to just repair that one wire, one of the other two would eventually fail again. And so by doing this all at once, this wire is going to give me like a full lifespan. Hopefully that makes sense. I've just cut off the part of the wire that could potentially break. And so now we're back to like a brand new motor basically. These are brand new full strength wires with all 8 individual strands on the inside. And so there we go. All right. These tiny little thin, like 30 gauge, 28 gauge, 26 gauge wires, as you could just see, I just use my fingernails, and I do eat my I don't eat them, I chew at them, but I have barely any fingernails, but I still have enough to just pinch and then yank. Make sure you pinch it hard enough, and then when you're done, just come in here with your fingernail and pull down on the silicone a little bit, because when you pull it off, it stretches the silicone just the tiniest little amount. And so just come back in here and just pull down on the silicone. If you don't do this, it's going to happen when you put heat on it. And that's one of the ways that ideally what you want is for the silicone to butt. If this is the PCB and you're soldering the wire up like this, let's say this is the silicone, you want it to be butted up against the base of whatever you're soldering it to. If you have a gap like this, the wires are going to bend there and they're going to break. If you get that silicone butted up against the PCB, it's going to bend. The silicone helps the wire bend gradually instead of bending at one specific little point that just gets weak and then explodes. So this is one of the main ways of getting these tiny little wires that are in like a high stress environment, right? Like right where you grab the tiny whoop every single time you pick it up to last longer. And so the wires are stripped. To tin the wires, we're going to put the soldering iron below, and then we're going to try to push the solder in from above. But we're going to tin the tip of the soldering iron. So I've got a little blob on there, lift it up, and then use the fresh solder to push down on the wire, and that's it. Lift it up, use the fresh solder to push down, wait until everything melts into a big blob, push it up, push it down, give it a split second there. And that's it. You should not see any individual strands of the wire when you're done doing that. I don't really need to leave it in here. I was going to leave it in that, but we don't really need it. And so now is when you forget to put the little piece of shrink wrap on here, and then you solder them to the motor, and then you realize that you forgot it, and then you either say to hell with it, or you desolder it and then resolder it. And so what you're looking for is just a little piece, a little tiny short piece of solder that is just barely able to get over this PCB where the wire's soldered to, and this is that perfect size right here. And so we take this and we only need to cut the tiniest little bit of it off. That is probably going to be about perfect there. Matthew Wegner with a $50 super chat. Brother, thank you so much. Very generous. He says, Father's Day pizza, inflation adjusted. My God, indeed, dude. Food is getting, everything's getting out of control, but wow. Dude, thank you so much, brother. Very, very generous. Douglas 6 says, don't forget the shrimp wrap. Indeed. All right, so now I've got it cut. It's the right size. But we're not going to put it on there yet. We got to run it down the wires. It's also probably going to be too small to go over the head of the JST here. And so this is where, like, when you forget it, you can't, there's nothing you can do. You got to desolder it. I like for these wires to be right to right, middle to middle, left to left. And so now's when you want to kind of work that out. And I think we're good to go here. Is that right? Yeah, we got it. Cool. And then the other thing you can now, I mean, if you want to be totally insane, you can look at the orientation of the plug and get the plug. I'll actually do that just for the sake of being a crazy person. And so, I mean, I'm going to twist these up anyway, but if I weren't to twist these up, it's plugs upwards. And so plugs upwards. I don't even know. I'm going to twist this one up so it doesn't matter. But yeah, if you want a super neat and tidy build, figure out if you want to solder it on like this or like that. And then you can have the wires run perfectly right to right, left to left, middle to middle. It looks really clean. All right. So now we are going to connect these wires. The wires have been tinned and stripped, so the wires themselves have some solder in them. The pads have a little blob of solder on them. So all we need to do is hold the wire perfectly in position and then bring in a little bit of heat. We don't want to add solder right now. We want to put enough solder on the pad and on the tips of the wires, on the stripped tips of the wires, that you can just connect these two. And so before you get in there with the soldering iron, you want to move yourself around so that you can comfortably hold this wire down on the pad. And there we go. And then the tip of the soldering iron, you want to hold it as flat as you possibly can to transfer heat quickly. All the while trying to keep the silicone pushed up against the PCB. That one was pretty good. The first one I like to do like that by hand. The second and third ones I use the tweezers because it's kind of like tight. You know, like the gap between that wire and this next wire is very small. And so get that on there. And now while that solder is cooling, you don't have to hold your breath, but don't talk on a live stream. Stay as still as you possibly can. All right, that third one was the worst of them, but sometimes what I'll do is just get all three of them down, and then what I can do is clamp all three like this to hold them in position, and then just reheat the joint and push down a little bit with the tip of the soldering iron to get the wire flatter against the pad. That's something I find myself doing an awful lot. And there we go. All three of those look good. The silicone is pushed up against the PCB. We're looking fine. And now, last but not least, is the shrink wrap. Don't put it on there too quick because you just dumped a bunch of heat into it. But the big thing here is that you push this all the way up. Push it all the way up against the base of the motor because you need it to wrap around that PCB. And so what I'll even do sometimes is put my finger like this and just hold it. Hold it up against like that. And then just come in with the lighter and just try to just kind of wave it so you don't burn your finger. But you got to keep it. I'll show you in a second. That worked out really nice on this one. You got to keep it pushed up. If it slides off that PCB, it's worthless. And so this is what you're looking for. You're looking for like a bulge. Aren't we all? You're looking for the shrink wrap to bulge out around the PCB. That's how you know it's grabbing onto the PCB rather than just hanging onto the wires. There you go. There you can see it. So that is about as good as it gets. The last thing to check is to hold this sideways and make sure that the shrink wrap is not pushed up against the bell. I don't know how the hell I'm going to show this to you. Oh, there we go. And so look at it like this, and look at the top of that shrink wrap, and make sure that it's not interfering with the bell. In this case, you can see we've got loads of space there. And so that is about as good as it gets. You can really see on the top there, see that those little corners, that's the corners of the PCB. And so now, when you grab this rig and you accidentally push up against these, the motor wires, all you're going to do is push up. See, it's not even putting any stress on those motor wires. It's just all the stress is being taken by that little piece of shrink wrap. This little piece of shrink wrap here is God. It's it does so much work for making these motors a lot more durable. It's pretty amazing. I think it even helps in crashes, because like whenever I have motors that don't have that, these motor wires break off here, and then once I fix it and do that, or just motors that come with that shrink wrap, they don't break at that point of the motor. They break elsewhere. The motor shaft breaks. This is also your chance to remove any hair. These brushless outboard motors are really good when it comes to not getting all fucked up with hair, but eventually it can screw them up. And so, yeah, now's your chance. Get any hair out of there, and your motor will be nice and fresh. But yeah, usually not a problem. Usually it was just the brushed motors that had a really hard time with hair. I'm being a little bit insane right now trying to get this last little piece, but this is the time to be insane. All right. And so that was some of Sage's hair there. That was purple hair, not green hair. I can always tell who it was by the color of the hair. And so there we go. This motor has been refurbed. Ooh, you can see the flux trying to ruin this motor. Oh my God. Will this focus? You can see the fact that I used maybe a little bit too much flux. Look on that. See the shininess? See the flux? The flux is trying to creep its way over to that bearing, and it would absolutely ruin that bearing. And so there you go. These little tiny motors, there absolutely is such thing as too much flux. Just because you're in such close proximity there between the bushing / bearing and those motor pads. And so what I'm going to do is get a little bit of isopropyl alcohol on a toothbrush and just brush that away, and that'll break up the flux and clean it up real nice. And it also now smells like a hospital in here, which is terrible. And so there you go. Now we're all set. Okay. So get this cleaned up a little bit here and throw this thing back on, and away we shall go. Where did the quad go? What? There it is. That was weird. All right, so now the motor wires are going to be a little bit shorter, so I might not be able to twist the motor wires up. Should still be okay, though. That's fine. If you can't twist the motor wires up, it's all right. I don't recommend that you shorten these motor wires unless you absolutely have to, because they're going to break. And so, like, if you end up keeping this set of motors for a long time, you're probably going to have to do that a couple of times. And so don't cut the motor wires absolutely as short as possible, because eventually they're going to break and you're going to lose a little bit of length from them. If you're a hardcore racer and you're searching for that extra 100th of a second, yeah, okay. do it. But for us mere mortals, don't do it. And so now I'm just going to gently twist this up. Pins up. I like to put a little 90-degree angle in this. And away we go. This would also be a great time. I am going to take this opportunity to put a little bit more Stabilant 22 on here. There's just no reason not to. Take one drip, put one single drip into the lid like that. I don't sell them in this exact container. I actually sell them in a container that I like better than this. And then what I do to put it on is I just take these fine-tipped tweezers, drop them down into the lid where I just put that liquid, and then they pick up a surprising amount of that liquid. And then I just go to the pins and I just pinch it on each pin. And it transfers quite a bit. These pins are so small that like you need such a tiny amount of this liquid. It's really, really nice. And so just get it in there, pinch, pinch, pinch. Pinch, pinch, pinch. The Stabilant 22 does last a few cycles of plugging and unplugging. But like you're using so little of it, there's, in my opinion, no reason not to just like reapply it every single time you have the opportunity. And there you go. That's one single drop of Stabilant 22 in there. I could have probably done all four, but I don't want to unplug the rest of the motors. These little JST plugs have a very short service life, so don't unplug them unless you have to, and you'll have a better time than just unplugging them willy-nilly all the time. You'll feel it, like they loosen up quite a bit, and that's not great. They can loosen up to the point where like on a really hard flat bottom crash, a motor will come unplugged. Like the plug will just come flying out if you crash it hard enough. And so yeah, don't do that. Only unplug them when you absolutely have to. And there we go. We're back in business. Unfortunately, I didn't charge any NX69 batteries, so we're not going to fly this thing, but that's okay. Tried to throw it over there and I completely missed. All right, on to the next. Let's do some Betaflight setup. What do you say? So, one second here. Get on there. Come on. There we go. All right. Let's do this little guy first. So this is built. This is a spare parts build with Newbie Drone Hummingbird 0802 25,000 kV motors, Gemfan 1219S props. This is a BLV3. Good God. Yes, BLV3 AIO. The motors are direct soldered. And then Goober Canopy BI. And the BLV3 did not have a receiver on board, so I've got a little a little Happy Model ELRS receiver on top of the AIO. And so hopefully the yeah, I don't know which UART we need here, but we're gonna find out together. So I need a transmitter. Probably also need goggles. Might as well grab them. Ugh. And okay, batteries are charged. That's great. Let us turn up the beat. Let's get into Betaflight here. So USB-C. Sorry, not USB-C. USB, micro USB rather. Okay, B-Brain BLV3. This is the other spot where you can see sometimes what the board is. Not always, but sometimes. So let's connect here. This is on firmware 4.3.1. Newbie drone boards rather use a specific hex, and so if you come in here to update firmware and you hit auto detect, it will not find a hex. If you drop this down and you search for Hummingbird, okay, there are a couple of Hummingbird hexes, but that's not this. This is BLV3. So let's search for BLV3. Nothing. No results found. Newbie Drone uses a very specific OSD chip, which has required you to use one of their hexes. And so basically this, let's see. I have a feeling that this is stuck on 4.3, but just for the sake of argument, Newbie Drone BLV3 firmware hex. Let's see what we can find. So Newbie Drone has their own GitHub, and the very first search result is hex 2025 12. Whoa, no way. Oh, it might not be in here though. So targets include Hummingbird F4. Nope. Hummingbird. Nope. 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 We need BLV3. It just says end more. What are these? Are these hexes? Yeah, these are the actual hexes. And so nothing in here. No BLV3 in here. 4.5.2. 5 assets. Nope. Lion B. Don't have it. 451. Targets include Hummingbird F4. Nope. No 4.5.1. Let's do this. I'm going to scroll. Well, I'm just going to do a Command F and search for BLV3. Nothing. No BLV3s. So let's go to the next page. 4.3.1. Assets. Probably going to have it here. There we go. BLV3. That is the version of the firmware that it's already on. 4.3.1. Let me go back real quick. I hadn't dropped down this asset section. Okay, yeah, so that was my bad. I could have found it here, but I needed to drop this down. So there is a BLV3 4.3.2. Let's keep going up. 4.3.2. Here's another BLV3 here. Let's see if there's a 4.4, though. I bet you there's not. Oh, there is! Holy shit. So I could update it to 4.4. 4.4.2. Nope. Just the Stinger B. 4.5 alpha. Okay, so here we go. So here is the end of the support for the BLV3. We've got BLV4. We've got the ELRS version, the Ghost version, the TBS version, but we don't have any BLV3 here. And so the absolute most current firmware that I could put on this would be 4.4.0 because there is a BLV3 hex. Nothing really interesting that I can remember changed between 4.3 and 4.4, so I'm not going to bother going through all that. It's all of the firmware since 4.2, in my opinion, has flown so similar. And there have been very subtle changes. Ooh, I don't have the... I turned the camera off the other day. Forgot to turn it back on. Hey, there I am. And so, yeah, this thing's going to be totally fine on 4.3.1. So let's make sure that the accelerometer is in the right orientation. Nose up. Nose up, nose down. Left, right, yaw left, yaw right. Okay, so that looks good. The accelerometer is the calibrometer is accelerated. Yeah, that was pretty flat. Ports tab. Hey, look at that. UART2 has the serial RX switch turned on, so that pretty much means that UART2 is where that ELRS receiver is. So that's awesome. Ports tab is looking good. Configuration, this is an F4 board, so we're going to run the PID loop on 4K. Don't try to run it on 8. You're going to look at the CPU load all the way at the bottom here. I don't even know if you guys can see it, but the CPU load is 59%, 58%, 56%, 58%. That's about as high as you want it to be. And so if I move this up to 8K PID loop, that CPU load would be way too high when it's just sitting here at rest. So yeah, F4 processors, 4K. Some F7 processors you can run on 8K. When in doubt, just run it on 4,000 times a second is awful rapid. D-Shot beacon configuration over here. This is your ESC beeper. Always make sure that these are turned on if you don't have an external beeper, so that if you need to find it, you can. Maximum arming angle. Putting this to 180 turns this off. Any less than 180, and it will not arm if it is tilted more than this number. So if I put this to 179 and I had the rig perfectly upside down at 180 degrees, it would not arm. So you can use this as a second safety, so that if you put it down and it's sitting really sideways, it won't arm. They used to have this value set to like 30 by default. I haven't seen it. I've seen it turned off recently. So yeah, air mode is not permanently enabled. We're going to do that in the modes tab. LED strip is enabled because this thing has some multicolor LEDs on it, which are pretty slick, and then the OSD is turned on. Other than that, this is good. Save and reboot. Although I don't think I changed anything, so I didn't really need to save and reboot, but it's fine. Power and battery. This little capacity field here, whatever number you have this set to, when the OSD counter goes above that number, it starts to flash. And so put this capacity in to whatever your biggest battery is that you're going to fly. It's just another little kind of handy tool. The rest of the stuff we're going to leave alone because I haven't flown it yet. Failsafe, since it's a tiny whoop, period of time in stage 1 after signal loss, the default value is 1.5 seconds. I raised this to 3 seconds, just to give me a little bit more time to hopefully have the thing reconnect and not fall to the ground. The auto settings, shout out to Brandon's Baked Beans for pointing this out the other day. This is what happens when it goes into failsafe. And what auto means is that it goes to idle. It goes to the middle. So pitch, roll, yaw, throttle. When it goes into failsafe for those 3 seconds, the motors are going to go to idle. The pitch, yaw, and roll are all going to center. And so if you're nose down, if you're flying like this and it goes into failsafe, it's going to lose power. But everything else is going to stay the same. It's not going to turn. It's not going to go up and down. It's not going to yaw. It's just going to hold whatever path you are on. The throttle is going to drop down to idle, and so it's going to lose momentum. Lose elevation, I should say. I kind of feel like setting your throttle to hold is a better option, which means that whatever the last value was, that's where it's going to hold for those 3 seconds of failsafe. The only time that I think that could screw you is if it goes into failsafe when you're full throttle and you're not pointed upwards. My hope is that right before it failsafes, if there's free air above me, I go full throttle. And the last signal that it gets is full throttle. So for 3 seconds, it's going to get full throttle and go elevation up and hopefully reconnect. And then I can fly away from the situation. And so I've been changing throttle to hold. The crash that I had at with the Caillou Mini when I was testing at Tulsa Tough, it held the throttle. And I actually was able to grab the onboard from it. And it did kind of exactly what I had hoped. If the throttle had gone down to idle, it would have possibly crashed in the street and maybe gotten run over. But instead, it held throttle and it flew itself into a tree and then fell down into the person's backyard. And so on smaller stuff, I think I'm going to start to always move throttle to hold. On bigger stuff, I think it's safer to leave it on auto. Because, like, you've lost... There's two schools of thought, right? The one school of thought is leave it on hold, and hopefully it either keeps cruising and it goes to a point where it reconnects, or if I can give it full throttle, it punches out and I can reconnect. And then we don't have the situation where the thing is crashing, right? That's one school of thought. The other school of thought is, well, it's going to crash anyway, and I want it to crash at minimum throttle. And so I don't know. I think this might factor into, like, piloting skill. Like, for a new pilot, I don't have any confidence that, like, if they're flying in a sketchy area, they're not even going to... A new pilot is not going to know what a sketchy area is. I know what a sketchy area is in terms of RF. And so whenever I'm flying in an area where it might fail safe, I am keeping the air clear above me, and I'm, like, ready to hammer full throttle to get it up above to get that reconnection, because I firmly believe that it is way safer to prevent the crash from happening than to let the crash happen with the thing at idle. You could make a really strong argument for both sides, but I think that, and in my experience, more often than not, when I've had fail-safes, if it just holds on for a little bit longer, it'll reconnect. Be that I flew behind, like, a tree that was really far out, and now we're, like, 5 trees deep instead of 2 trees deep, or if I fly behind a building, or it gives me enough time to raise the transmitter up above my head. You would not believe how often I have had a fail-safe, and I put the transmitter up above my head, and it reconnects. I know it's not a big distance, right? You're only moving the transmitter like 2 feet, but if you're really far, 2 feet, right, like curvature of the earth, just shit getting in the way, 2 feet is a big deal. And so that is my philosophy on failsafe. You are totally entitled to have your own opinion, and you're not wrong. This is my experience. This is the experience that I've had in 10 years of flying, with probably, I don't know, 30, maybe 40 fail-safes over the years. And so this is how I set mine up. You can set yours up the same way. You can set it up different, whatever. This is what I think is the safest kind of deal. Presets. We are going to be running this on Express LRS 250 Hertz. So we're going to click here, and then in the options, since it's a tiny whoop, I'm going to do right in the middle here, HD Freestyle. This is how you dial in how much stick smoothing you've got. The more stick smoothing, the more latency. And so with a tiny whoop, you don't want, like, to use the ultra cinematic or the cinematic. That's going to have too much latency. You want either racing or freestyle or HD freestyle. I'm actually going to do freestyle on this. I'll do freestyle, not HD freestyle. Pick it, save and reboot. All right, give it a second. I should have done the other preset. Oh, well, no, the other preset is for the other preset that I like to use. Oh, there is a 4.31. I was going to say the other preset that I like to use is for 4.5, but yeah, there's a 4.3. So 4.3 filter settings for clean build with RPM filtering. Yes, that's what I want. Click it, pick it, save and reboot. Hopefully we can get RPM filtering working on this. I don't remember if the BLV3 does it. It probably will. Most AIOs are okay with RPM filtering. That's everything in the presets. PID tuning. This is an AIO that I've already flown before, and so it's already got my kind of standard starting point where I put these sliders at, so that looks fine. iTerm relax is set at a cutoff of 10. That's great for freestyle. Racing, you want this cutoff to be 15. Anti-gravity, leave it alone. It's set up properly. Dynamic damping, 40 and 40. That's where I like those. Motor output limit, 100%. Great. Dynamic idle, 30. VBAT sag compensation, 100. Thrust linearization, 10. These are the settings that I prefer. If you want to use different settings, knock yourself out. Save it, although I don't think I changed anything. My rates are 4700.7. You'll probably hate those. TPA looks like default. No throttle limit. Awesome. Filter settings. The gyro filter multiplier is up at 1.75. That's usually where we want it. Gyro low pass 2 is turned on. 1 is not. That is what you want to do on a clean build. That's one of the things that preset does, is it sets it like that. Gyro RPM filter on a plastic framed quad does not need to have 3 harmonics. Turn it down to 1 and get a nice chunk of filtering latency back by doing that. Dynamic notch filter, 1 notch, 300Q, 150 min, 600 max. This works on damn near everything. Looking good. Nothing crazy here on the sliders. I am going to turn the D-term slider back on, and I'm going to move this up to 1.2. I can almost always run this D-term filter multiplier slider at 1.2 with good results. That's where I started out at, and then I adjust it from there. Receiver tab, it might be bound. Let's see. Kick this on. And let's see if it comes up here. RC deadband, set that to 4. Yaw deadband, set that to 4. Stick low threshold, set that a little bit less than whatever these values come up when you go bottom left with both of your sticks. Stick high threshold, set this a little bit below wherever these go when you go up and right on your sticks. This is really not bound. Oh, maybe it needs battery power to power up the... it does indeed. It needs battery power to fire up the receiver. So let's do that real quick here. All right. Battery is plugged in. Receiver. Oh, no, the receiver is in Wi-Fi mode. It does not need battery power, but it's been plugged in so long that the receiver is trying to find Wi-Fi rather than a module. Hey, there we go. We are bound. And so receivers tab, I'm going to take my transmitter, I'm going to go bottom left with both sticks, and I'm going to look at these numbers. Zoom in on the numbers for you. All right, here's our 4 numbers. Bottom left, all of these numbers are a little bit below 1,000. So I'm going to set my stick low threshold to 1,000. Top right with these sticks, all of these numbers are just barely above 2,000. So I'm going to set my stick high threshold at 2,000. Make sense? I don't know why aux 4 is bringing the throttle with it. That's a little bit weird. Aux 6 is my momentary switch. This is also where you can check your switches. Kind of handy. I already have all this set up. Stick center always needs to be 1500. This is also where you can kind of check your jitter and sometimes dial in your trims a little bit more perfectly. And then yaw. There we go. That's a little bit more centered. Save it. Modes tab. These are already set up, but here's how I do mine. Okay. Beeper is on aux 3. That's good. LED low. Oh, that's cool. I have the LED set up to turn off when I'm in this one switch position. That's pretty good. Air mode. Air mode, I'm actually going to move on to this momentary switch, which is on aux 6. And so air mode is on, and then I pull the aux switch, and it goes out of the range, and that turns air mode off. Flip over after crash. I always like to put that in the middle. And then launch control is kind of fun, but I don't know. It's lost its novelty, to be honest. Save it. And we do not have a black box chip on here, so we can't set black box. I mean, we can set black box, but it won't do anything. This adjustments tab is where I have my adjustable OSDs in here. You turn this on, you set it to the channel of the switch that you want it on. You do a full range here so that you can have all 3 switch positions. And then apply needs to go to OSD profile selection via channel, the same aux channel. That allows you in your OSD tab to use these 3 different OSD profiles. And so that switch that I just put this on, each 3 positions on that switch will trigger each one of these OSD profiles. And what I do is I have the first 2 profiles all the way down set to the way that I want my OSD. And then the 3rd profile is completely empty all the way down to the bottom until the warnings. And so I can pull this switch and go into OSD profile 3, which only puts warnings up. So I can have a clean output to DVR, and then at the end of the battery, I get a warning so that I don't run my batteries into the ground. Otherwise, if in the modes tab there's an OSD disable, when you run that, you get no warnings. And so you fly around a bunch, and the battery falls off its face because you had no idea. You had no OSD, you had no warnings. This is a much better way of doing that because you only get those warnings right before the battery goes dead. So that's how I set this up. I don't think I made a change, but we'll hit save. Wait, no, I skipped the motors tab, which we are going to need to use here. So battery is plugged in. Let's go to, I'm not going to need to reorder the motors. I'm just going to need to change their direction. So let's do this. Wizard, start and spin motors, and away we go. Motor 1 is correctly spinning. Motor 2 is not. Click it. See if it reverses. It did. That's really nice. Motor 3 is also going in the wrong direction. Click it. Make sure it does in fact reverse. It did. Motor 4 is good to go. Stop motors. Close. It automatically saves. Bidirectional D-Shot is turned on. That's great. We were using a PID loop at 4K, so we want to pair that with D-Shot 300. If you're using an 8K PID loop, you're going to pair that with D-Shot 600. That is kind of important. Motor poles 12 because it's a little itty-bitty motor. And that's all we're going to do in here. We just did the OSD. We're going to skip to the video transmitter. We're going to go race band 8. That is the farthest away that you can get from Wi-Fi. Power 120. We don't need all that much power. Let's go down to 50. Pit mode is off. Low power disarm is set to on until first arm. That's what you want. And then we're going to save it because I changed that power. LED strip. These newbie drone boards do have some built-in LEDs. I have them set to red and purple because I'm a nerd. Nothing in sensors, nothing in tethered logging, nothing in black box. But in the CLI, we can turn on crash recovery. I don't know if I ever turned it on these old BLV3s. And so I have a little sticky note here with my crash recovery settings, which perfectly jive with my rates and how I fly and how I crash and what I smash into. Save it, and that's a full, well, not quite a full setup because some of that stuff was already set up, but I tried to talk you through as much of that as I possibly could. Last but not least, we're going to go to ESC Configurator. I actually have not had one of these. I don't know if I've ever put Blue Jay on one of these old BLV3s. I don't even know if it's going to jive with this. Let's see. Plug the battery in. Read settings. Oh, it's on Blue Jay. Oh my god, it's on Blue Jay 0.21. I lied. Okay, 48K. So we're good. All is well. These are turned up. Motor timing is set to medium. Beacon delay is set to 2 minutes. Good to go. Cool. Let's see how it flies. Come on. Alright, flat part away from me. Hey! Look at that OSD off the bottom of the screen there. What's that about? Let's see if it's like that in the goggles. It is like that in the goggles. That's interesting. That could be a... Let's see if we can fix that. That could be an NTSC versus PAL thing. One of the two has more vertical field of view. The opposite one has more... shoots at a higher frame rate. So let's see. What is it set at? It's set at NTSC on the video format here. Let me hit PAL. Oh, no, that's not the issue. That's not the issue. So it is NTSC. Just for whatever reason, these are off the bottom of the screen. So let's just move them up a little bit. Move them up one little box. And I'll fix that problem right up. Ooh, I have RSSI on. Let me turn RSSI off. And I will turn RSNR up. No, I won't. Because this version of Betaflight did not have signal-to-noise ratio. So I will not do that. I will leave the RSSI on. But the RSSI, as we've shown in the past, works staggeringly well. Alright, there we go. Just move them up a little bit. Save it. And now we'll see how it flies. So this is going to be a little heavy on these 802s. But it should be alright for a spare parts build. It's also a little bit low KV at 25,000, but, you know. Spare parts builds are about having something that flies, not having something that absolutely shreds. Whoa. What? This is not bad at all. It does feel heavy for sure. Wow, okay. So these 802s paired with these 1219 pitchy ass tri-blades are a really decent combo. It feels very heavy, don't get me wrong. But I was expecting it to have a lot less power than this, but the power is completely fine. It's just the weight that's a bit much. Because 802, yeah, like when I come off the throttle, it feels like there's like the carpet is made of magnets. Like it pulls it down. It's just got this like mass to it. That's interesting. I haven't flown 802s in a long time, inside at least. Man, this thing is okay. Holy shit, not bad. What? We're gonna weigh it in a minute to see what it actually weighs, but this flies way better than I thought. Oh god. I'll be damned. Okay. Okay, Hummingbird 802s. I have a feeling. So, the newbie drone motors from the last... Woo boy! From the last couple of years, have been a little under, like the KV is higher than what it says on them. I don't think these are 25,000s. I think these are closer to like 28, maybe even 30,000 KV motors, because these are making really good power, especially for the weight of this thing. The weight and just 802s on an indoor whoop in general shows up in the runtime. That minute and 45 second runtime that I just got, that's 802 life. 702s are just a magical motor. They're so much lighter that you end up getting quite a bit more runtime. This little guy is fat. 21.5 grams. And that is on a... This is a light AF frame, trying to get the weight down on this. This Goober canopy is kind of heavy. It's got the external ELRS, which is heavy, and then it's got 802s, which are heavy. But I'm really surprised at how well this thing flies. That's cool. I dig it. This is going to be up on the Etsy store at some point. If you can't wait for it to go up there, shoot me a message. All my contact info is on CiottiFPV.com, and it could be yours. Damn, dude. Okay. I will say this: the non-Hummingbird 802s from Newbie Drone do not fly like those. The regular like Acro B, they're usually either silver or gold 802s. they're not that. That is the Hummingbird motors from Newbie Drone. I think they went to a different manufacturer, or they just said, fuck it, we're going to make the actual KV a lot higher than the stated KV, because the Hummingbird motors are rocket ships from Newbie Drone. The old Acro B motors, like what are on this other build that I guess we don't have time to get set up, but yeah, these are not that. And so here's the Hummingbird motors are black. The non-Hummingbird motors are either like this kind of gunmetal, sort of silverish color, or sometimes they're like a gold color. And so these motors are not fire-breathing lunatics in the same way that the Hummingbird motors are. It works every time. So yeah, these motors are cooler looking. I love the bell design of this, but this motor will perform correctly from whatever the KV is that's stamped on the motor. And these ones here are 802 27,000 kV. If I took these motors off and put them on that rig, even though those are 802 25,000s and these are 802 27,000s, I guarantee you these motors would make less power than those. That was pretty good. Those are some of the most powerful 802s I've ever felt, but I don't fly 802s typically inside, so that's a tough comparison to make. Speaking of comparisons, let's fly 2 more batteries on 2 different builds. We're going to go with the Indestructible Ultimate Freestyle build, and then the Crazy G 473 Indestructible build. I've been wanting to compare these two. Same frame, different AIOs. 2G4 versus Crazy G 473. 2G4 is heavier with motor plugs. Crazy G is direct solder and lighter. Same canopy, same camera, same antenna, different propellers. HQ 1.2 by 0.9 by 3, because you might as well, those are the best, these are the best props in my opinion, and if you're going to have a 1mm shaft, you might as well run the best props. Gemfan 1219S, which are the best props for the 1.5mm motor shaft. Both same motors, 0702 Weebleed 40,000s. Indestructible build is 19 grams right on the nose. Crazy G 473 build is 17.6 grams. And so pretty big difference in weight between these two. Different propellers. Same kind of everything else. Let's go Indestructible build first. No, let's go with the lightweight build first to see as much of a difference as possible from what I was just flying. I was just flying a really fat thing. Let's fly something really light. And then we'll go back to sort of, this is still fat, but it's the price you pay for those 1.5mm motor shafts and the most indestructible canopy setup and the best frame, in my opinion. Here we go. What? Helps when you turn the transmitter on. Oh my God. How dare you, Fat Shark Goggles. How... Oh my God. Come on, transmitter. Oh, here comes Doggo. He's pissed, I can tell. I can tell by his jog, he's pissed. B. Kirk was flying number 6 batteries tonight and noticed getting quite wobbly. Could be due to the heated up motors or the obvious wind. I don't think the wind changed much, but maybe it did. Interesting. Uriel did something. It's going to be fine. Okay. All right. Crazy G473 build. My God, it's so much light. It just feels so much lighter. It's just so much more reactive. Everything that I do, like every motion, just happens so much faster when you're carrying around this much less weight. Why did I do that? It's as if I crashed into it on purpose. Oh, this is gonna be tough to get out of here. Oh god. Teddy, let me out. Teddy, let me out. Jesus, doggo. Oh my god. So, I have put these gates back up, but I put them farther apart. I like them better on the inner. See those little nipples up there? Those are the little cable holders that I use to hold these things up. And so I have 2 sets for if I want to put 4 gates up. But I like these better when they're on the inners. But I figured it would be cool to have them in like the difficult position for a little while. When they're farther out like this, it's harder for me to do these power loops and get it through both of them, right? Like, because the power loop goes from low to high and then back to low. Boy, am I rusty hitting this gate. Hitting this power loop, I should say. Jesus, I can't even get it once. Come on now. Oh no. Get out of here, wires. Come on, let me get it once. There we go. There we go. We can do this. Ah, see? So when you see me go through one but hit the other, that's kind of what's... Well, when I hit the one in the front, it's just me being a shit pilot, but... When I go through the first one, I hit the second one, yeah, the closer they are together, the less that happens. Oh boy. That was very weird. Hey. What? Oh. Hey, come on, one more. Oh god. Uh-oh. We survived. And so, lightweight builds get much better runtime. 2 minutes and 40 seconds on the exact same battery with maybe more power. 702s are magic. That's all I can tell you. They're just the perfect motor size for this stuff. It's really absurd how good 702 motors that are high kV pair with these builds. It's really awesome. Last but not least is the indestructible build. We're going to pick up like 1.5 grams here, but we've got motor shafts that will never bend, that are 1.5 millimeters in diameter. Oh, look at that! One of the LEDs blew up on this little 180-degree BT 2.0 adapter. That's crazy. Man, that's some serious crashing to break one of those. All right, here we go. Last battery of the live stream. I'm flying 3. You guys need to fly at least 3, so that together we've flown 6. But you might as well fly 6. Actually, no. I flew 4 batteries earlier, so I'm good. I got my 6 in for the day. Join me. All right, so we're 1.5 grams heavier. And I can tell it's not that bad, but it's there. Hey. Woo! Shit. I would love to know where I am right now. I'm somewhere inside the drum set. That was a spot that I don't know if I've ever been before. Where the hell was I just now? That was weird. Oh, went out the side. Yikes! Oh, God. Come on. Come back to me. These are, all 3 of these are at different up tilts. With this indestructible rig, I just throw it around the room like I hate it. So, the fact that I'm crashing a lot more with this is because of how sturdy the damn thing is. Real sturdy! Got a little mirror flip going. Hey! There we are. Oh! That's like top 10 mirror flips of all time. Oh, I just clipped the floor time, I guess it was. These last two builds are both on Weebleed 0702 40,000 kV motors. Don't let that 40,000 number turn you off. The KV, different companies measure KV differently, and these motors are, the KV is actually a little bit lower. And so, like, these motors in 40,000 make less power than those new 32,000 and change RCN powers. The Weebleed 40,000s are some of the best mix of runtime and really good power. And in my opinion, throttle resolution. I love the throttle resolution of Weebleed Happy Model Tiny Whoop motors. Hey, not quite. Ooh, that cable was all up in my business. There we go. 2 minutes and 36 seconds, and I didn't even... that battery has more in it. Yeah, incredible. I absolutely love these motors. If you want even more throttle resolution, even more runtime, the 32,500 kV motors are wonderful as well. But these 40s, for me, who's can be a little power hungry at times, these are the way to go. Only when it comes to quads. I don't give a shit about power in the real world. That's for weirdos. Can you imagine being so obsessed with, like, being a powerful human being that, like, you don't help anyone else out? What the fuck? Like, these 1%ers that do no philanthropic work. Like, how much of a monster are you? Holy shit. You have the ability to, like, improve the lives of millions, if not billions of people, and you just don't. Fuck is that, man? Get out of here. Get off this planet. You don't deserve to live with caring human beings. There's a rant. There's no rants this live stream. We needed a good old-fashioned Ciotti rant. Ryan Sadat says, Tiny Whoop sells super cool motor wires with plugs pre-crimped in a bunch of colors. They do. If I wasn't so lazy, all of my quads would have those. I have all the colors just sitting in the toolbox. Mitch says, still catching up on live streams, but when are you planning on releasing your frame, and would you ship it to Australia? This year, and I typically don't ship overseas because in the last 5 years of shipping things overseas, 50% of them disappear. And it sucks for everyone, right? Like, you sent me a bunch of money that's now at the bottom of the ocean. I now feel like an asshole, and I feel like I have to refund at least some of it. And so now I lose money on the deal, and you lose money on the deal, and like the whole situation just sucks. It's this country. Like, we just are too busy eating cheeseburgers and hamburgers and hot dogs to care about anything, and so we just do things very poorly. It's also absurdly expensive to ship overseas. Because we're being driven into the ground by lunatics. And so, my initial reaction is no. But if you are willing to take all of that risk, and I don't have to refund you, what do I care? But I do care. And so, yeah. When I have them and they're available, ask me. And if I'm in a good mood, I might be. But, like, do you really want me to? So that's the situation. When I have them, get in touch with me. And They'll be sold through my Etsy store, which will not allow you to put in an overseas address, and so you're going to have to message me anyway. So just message me. And if you message me and say, yo, if it disappears, I'm okay with that. I at least want to try. I'll probably be like, okay, if that's what you want. But yeah, fair warning. Overseas shipping has been a complete nightmare over the last bunch of time. It's super annoying. CiottiFPV says, I think I'm going to print out some modular whoop gates tonight. I found on MakerWorld. Been printing out of PETG, carbon fiber. This stuff comes out super nice. Slick. How are you printing those big enough? Whoop gates need to be huge. Do you have a giant 3D printer? Levster has arrived just in time for the end of the live stream. Euro says, make landing spot on one of the fan blades would be a good trick. Yeah, we tried that with the old fan that had bigger, wider blades. It's not realistic. I would have to put something sticky on the bottom of the quad. Yeah, it's too hard. There's too much. It just doesn't work. It doesn't work. The Ghoul says, do those Weebleed replacement bells fit on Beta FPV motors? Maybe. If they do fit, I would doubt that the magnets are going to be lined up properly with the stator poles. And so I don't, like, they'll probably fit, they'll probably spin, but you'll probably lose a bunch of power. And we don't want that. Uriel rightly says, not only your country sucks, remember that. Yeah, so true. Jimmy the Cow says, moo. And then Yuke with the last comment of the live stream says, nah, they print in pieces that you snap together. Very cool. Very, very cool. Thanks for hanging, friends. CiottiFPV.com if you'd like to support me to keep this thing going. I'll see you on Sunday at 3 o'clock Eastern Time. Be good, friends. Here comes some... Oh! Here comes some analog from the V7 on these 1103 Aquila 20 motors, 2S, very lightweight, 2-inch, blasting around. No, I lied. I didn't lie. There's no memory card in there, we're good. Sure wish YouTube would just crash so that my computer can work again. YouTube has a horrendous memory leak problem. They always have. And when you live stream for more than an hour, it gets really, really bad. And there's no real solution. It is absolutely insane that the biggest video sharing platform on the planet can't get its shit together enough to fix a memory leak that they've had for 5+ years. But e-shitification, or as I've now seen it spelled N-shitification, which doesn't really make sense, is real. The other thing is real is this computer not reading this memory card that I'm putting into it, which is what I was afraid of. Which is why I said no a minute ago, but whatever. All right, I'm going to close the chat to see if this will maybe help it a little bit, because otherwise you're going to get like 1 frame per second flying. But whatever. It's the end of the stream. Nobody stays and watches me fly anyway. Where are all the flight files? What is happening? God, this computer. Oh my God. When I leave YouTube up for a while, it is just unbelievable how bad it wrecks this computer. Wowee, there we go. Okay. All right, friends, I'll see you again on Sunday. Have a wonderful weekend. Thank you for hanging out and supporting me. Nothing works. Oh my God. Is this real life? Holy shit, dude. Well, this is...
Yeah. Out in the yard where the grass grows wild, CiottiFPV's goggles locked, grinning like a child. Teddy Spaghetti's fur flies and jet wash dreams, yeah. Chasing small whoops like a dog possessed fiend. Eyes on a neon blur, hard in the chase. Bit fuzz and prop spin all tangled in place, yeah. Four-legged rebel with a rotor stir tail. In the circus of the sky they never fail. CiottiFPV, Teddy Spaghetti, dynamic duo kings, barking at the breeze, throttling at top speed, they zooming through hoops, flipping in style. That schnauzer's got throttle and a toothy smile. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Shotty's on sticks, Teddy's on paws. Side by side legends breaking all the laws. Through the kitchen over couch scale terrain. Backyard mayhem in their flight domain. No ground too sacred, no loop too tight. Fuzz fuel fury ignites the night. When pilot and pup lock eyes on the prize, every whoop they conquer is a fresh cut surprise. Yeah, yo, Shotty behind the sticks, Teddy's leading the pack. Prop guard missiles unleashed, never looking back. No leash, no map, just freestyle mic. They on the dog drone streets every day and night. Said whoops, hitting low, gotta nail the dive. Teddy push throttle up, feel the beast come alive. I see the neon arc, got the sticks locked in, Teddy. Yeah, let's rip this loop, ride the roar of the wind, Teddy. Yep, yeah. CiottiFPV, Teddy Spaghetti, diamond and duo kings, barking at the breeze, throttling at top speed, zooming through hoops, flipping in style. That schnauzer's got throttle and a toothy smile. Teddy Spaghetti, barking at the breeze, throttling at top speed, things zooming through hoops, flipping in style. That schnauzer's got throttle and a toothy smile. Yeah, when you hear that bar cut the rotor hum, you know Ciotti and Teddy's mission's just begun. FPV's fur-faced legends, legends singing loud. Yeah, Teddy Spaghetti and CiottiFPV.